The following program is being brought to you on the Seventh Wave Network. For more information about our network and to check our additional show hosts and topics of interest, please visit seventhwavenetwork.com. The Voice America Talk Radio Network is the worldwide leader in live Internet talk radio. Visit voiceamerica.com. The views and ideas expressed on the following program are strictly those of the host or guests and do not necessarily reflect the views and ideas held by the Voice America Talk Radio Network, its staff, and management.
Welcome to School of Miracles Radio with your host, Heather Scavetta. Have you ever wanted to communicate with a loved one in spirit? Here you will learn how to see, hear, and feel as mediums and psychics do. Everyone can learn how to communicate with their spirit team of guides and loved ones. No previous experience is necessary. Come with us as we enter a beautiful world that you never knew you were a part of. Now, here is Heather Scavetta.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. Last week, I hope you enjoyed our show. For the past few episodes, we have been talking about clairvoyance, clairsentience, and today we're going to be talking about clairaudience. So, of course, that is seeing, feeling, and hearing. So today we're going to talk about hearing spirit. So perhaps there are some listeners out there who have not heard spirit yet and are interested in developing this ability. I say to you, absolutely, you can do this. It is who we are. We all have connections to spirit, whether we recognize them or not. There are also people out there who have heard spirit and maybe don't work with spirit on a regular basis. To those people, can I say, yes, you did hear spirit? Because oftentimes we deny these experiences because they're so different. They're so outside of the box. We think maybe we were dreaming it or making it up. And so we discount it. And I know the first time that I saw something from spirit, I did the same thing because you can't quite place it anywhere. You don't really understand it. But what I have figured out in the last 11 years I've been doing this is so many people have had experiences with spirit. You know, it is more common than rare, but people hesitate to share. And I really encourage you out there that if you have had a special experience with spirit, to share it with people. There is some truth and energy in those experiences that really uplift one another. It's always special when you hear something that is literally out of this world. It just brings us closer together. So that's something that I wanted to do today, is to once again share my personal experiences with you so that you can understand what hearing spirit is all about. Now, last week, I had the privilege of being in San Diego, California, and it was lovely to be in the States once again. And it was nice and warm. Now, it's been warm here in Canada, a cool day today, but it was so nice to walk out at all hours and be warm like that. So, of course, wherever you go, wherever I go, your spirit team goes with you. Your loved one does not stay at the cemetery. They travel around. They're free. They don't hang out there unless you're there. So wherever you go, your spirit team goes. And they were very present with me during that trip. And I'd like to share some of my experiences with that because I really believe that what happens to me is for me to share it with you so that you can understand. So because I was away, I did not have access to a computer. And you may not be looking at the correct page if you're listening to this live. We are talking about clairaudience today. Last week, we talked about clairsentience. But if you're listening to the podcast, the correct page will be in front of you now. Now, as I said before, this is not for the special few. I am not special in any way. I developed this ability, and this is what I'm here to do now to help you to do the same. So, of course, you can learn how to hear spirit. It is often the most misunderstood of abilities. People can wrap their brain around seeing something and also wrap their brain around feeling something. But to hear something seems very elusive and intangible. Where is that? Where is that sound coming from? So through my experiences, the sound seems to come from many different places. And sometimes it does sound like a human voice talking to you, and sometimes it doesn't. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit more. So if someone has told you about clairaudience, I want you to throw out any rules they made about this. I've had some people tell me that it can never be in a certain way. It will never be like that. Well, I'll tell you that God works in all ways, and hearing spirit can come in all forms. There is no limit to what he can do to reach you, to help you on your way here. Angels talk to people in the Bible. Why are you any different? If there is a message that spirit needs to tell you, they will break through whatever barrier is created by you or this physical environment to get a message through to you. And a good friend of mine did hear, as a loved one was passing, as he was driving, did hear his voice come through to let him know that he's okay. Many people have had similar experiences, but they just kind of set them aside. On the contrary, people who work with spirit relish these things. They're like, yes, I heard this being spoken to me, or I heard this loved one tell me something. We get very excited about this. It never gets old. It's always amazing. So again, try not to make rules about how this is going to be. And this really is the first step in getting rid of the barriers to hearing spirit, because oftentimes we don't understand how it can be. So we say that isn't it, because we want it to be in a specific way, maybe like how we saw it in a movie or something. What I'm saying is, can you throw all that out and allow it to be what it is? In time, in practice, when it has happened over and over again, you will know how it is for you, and you will learn to recognize that voice when it shows up. So if you've read my book, The Power of Love, it's my memoir of how I opened up to spirit and how my daughter Elizabeth on the other side broke through the barriers to communicate with me, to teach me how to communicate with spirit. And one of the earliest experiences I had with Elizabeth was hearing her voice. Now, this was before I really put a lot of effort into opening up. And she broke through whatever barrier that was to get that message through to me. And in the book, I talk about how I was alone in the house, and I was looking through her music books. She loved music, to play the piano and the guitar, looking for some special lyric, something that would have special meaning to her, to put on the plaque on the piano that we were donating to her high school in memory of her. And so there I was, sitting on the couch, being quiet, reading, and in essence, in a meditative state, really, and the whole room filled with her voice. I have a 2-story family room, so it's open to above, and the whole room, loud and clear, I heard her say, "Hi, Mommy." And I was overcome. Still, that memory is so fresh. And I feel the emotions coming up again. What a miracle that was, to hear her voice and to hear her break through, to talk to me. And so in that moment, I knew that I could hear spirit. That's all I knew. I didn't know how to cultivate it. I didn't know how to further develop it. And she taught me. My spirit team taught me. And I'm teaching you right now. So what is the common denominator there? Lots of reasons. One is there's a purpose. So she had to break through. She had to let me know that she was okay. This is often people's first interaction with hearing spirit is because there is a dire need for it, and definitely I was grieving. So there has to be a need. There's a reason why spirit communicates with you. It's just not to play party games. There is a deep reason behind it. So, and I was also sitting still and being quiet. Oftentimes when our mind is really busy and we're hustling here and there, it's difficult to hear these things. It creates a energetic barrier around us for them to break through. But don't be concerned if you haven't developed this yet, because if you really need a message, they will get it through to you. Don't you worry. Now, I was still in quiet. There was a need. So those are two very important components. But what I started to do was meditate more regularly, indeed every day. And meditating every day, as I've said before in my other programs, is really the key to opening up all your spiritual senses. So meditate every day and listen to my other podcasts for more information about this. But I will keep talking about it because it is so important. So meditating regularly opens this field wider. And now spirit can talk to me in so many different ways. For some people, they may only hear in one way, for others in many different ways, because there's a purpose in that also. So I hear in many different ways so that I can share them with you, so that I can understand how you're developing, how you're opening up, and we will have common ground that I understand how it is for you. So when we come back from the break, I wanted to talk a little bit more about another way that I heard Elizabeth talk to me, because of course it was all about my daughter at the beginning. It is her that taught me. And so, again, she broke through to tell me something very important. So another way of hearing spirit is when you're just waking up in the morning, because you're in that in-between state. And many people will say, I was just laying in bed and I heard my husband say my name, but he wasn't in the room or he wasn't in the house. Oftentimes they use our memories, they use our references, I call it, also our personal dictionary to get through to us, to use those references so that we recognize. So most people will say, well, that's weird, and they will leave it at that. People who are working on this, who want to learn more, will say, that's amazing. How cool is that? And of course, that's always my response. I'm always excited when that happens. So not only can people communicate with a memory of a voice, so too can animal sounds. That's also another thing that comes through. And I'm going to tell you more about that just after the break. So stay with us, won't you?
The Voice America 7th Wave Channel.
Visit schoolofmiracles.ca to find out about Heather Scavetta and her channeled life readings and School of Miracles. Heather blends her energy with the council to bring forth their words of guidance and encouragement that can help you take that next step forward on your spiritual path. You may also attend classes and workshops at School of Miracles in the Toronto, Ontario, Canada area. Learn to communicate with your loved ones, spirit guides, animals, and others in your spirit team. For more information, please visit schoolofmiracles.ca. Tony Scavetta has been giving mediumship readings since 2004. His exceptional gift of clairvoyance will provide validation that your loved ones did not die and are here with you today. Experience healing through knowing your loved one is still with you. and receive personal messages from them. Private and group sessions are available. Visit schoolofmiracles.ca and book through the calendar for Tony's availability. That's schoolofmiracles.ca.
Be visionary. Be extraordinary. Be the change. This is the Seventh Wave Channel on the Voice America Network.
You are listening to School of Miracles Radio. If you have a question or comment about the program, please send Heather an email to info@schoolofmiracles.ca. That's info@schoolofmiracles.ca. Now, back to this week's show.
Thank you so much for staying with us, or if you're just joining us, welcome. We've been talking about clairaudience and learning how to hear spirit. And spirit communicates with me so that I can share it with you so that you can learn how it can be. I talked about, just before break, about hearing sounds as you're waking up in the morning. This could be like a memory, hearing maybe your husband call your name, or your child call your name, or your mother calling your name, things like that. Often people hear their name being called. When I hear my name being called, I'm like, yes, and wait for some more information to come. It's always an amazing event. So laying in bed in the morning, just as you're waking up, is such an amazing time to receive messages, because you're in that meditative state naturally. And if you just stay and be aware and just kind of stay there for a few moments, don't jump right out of bed. Oftentimes, that's the time where you may hear something. When you're in that in-between falling back asleep state, you're so relaxed that they're able to get through to you really easily. And of course, the other way is in meditation, which is kind of creating the same opening. Because in meditation, you should be so relaxed that you feel like you're going to fall asleep, and yet you don't. So you can see how it's the same thing. When you've been meditating for a long time, you naturally go into that state whenever you're quiet and still and close your eyes. And so I meditate a lot. Whenever I'm quiet, I just naturally go into meditation. So this was a while after I heard her initial hi mummy to me. I was in meditation, and I was very deep in meditation. And sometimes we have to relax so deeply to really set our guard aside to allow these things to happen. And I heard very clearly. Now, when I heard hi mummy, it felt like the sound was coming outside of my head, like the whole room was filled with her voice. When I was meditating and heard her voice again, it was like it was inside my head, like a really big thought. And it startled me. And she said I was the cat. And if you've read my book, you know the story. But basically, she was with me the day before when I was holding one of the cats. And I was holding this cat for about 15 minutes and just stroking it and spending time with it. And it was a very special occasion that's never happened since. And she told me that she was the cat, that she had blended with the cat for that time and spent time with me. And there she was in my arms. So she taught me a lot. First of all, that I can hear her inside my head, but also that our loved ones can blend with animals briefly to bring about a message. And that's why sometimes when animals do weird things, we say, that's weird. I felt like, that was my grandmother looking at me or whatever. And that's how they kind of make butterflies do things and birds do things as well, because they can blend. Again, energy blending with energy. So, so waking up, going to sleep also can create that opening to hear spirit. Meditation. But anytime you have quiet thoughts, anytime you're quiet and still, many people hear spirit when they're driving. So I just got back from San Diego, as I said, and during that time, I received many messages that I heard. And it's interesting. I saw lots of pictures, but I heard lots of things also. So again, oftentimes it would be when I was meditating or maybe first thing in the morning, and I didn't know what I was going to do that day. I was on holiday. I was with my friend. She was kind of directing things, and I didn't know where we would go. One morning, I just heard, like a big thought inside my head, the word peninsula. Now, that's not a word you use very often. And to me, I knew it was spirit because that's not my thought. That's not a word that I would normally think of. Well, during the day, we ended up going down to the bay, and we were right where the peninsula was. So they were telling me, I know you're going to do that today, which I still find amazing that they know what I'm going to do. And I keep saying the future is already set for you. They know what's coming up. Another morning, I was meditating before I got out of bed, and I heard the word consent. Now, when you hear a word, again, kind of the same way inside my head, like a big thought, I heard the word consent. I stay with it and I focus very gently on it. And I wait to see if something else is going to come. Will there be a picture that goes along with the word, or will there be a feeling that goes along with it? Oftentimes, when you open up different aspects, they use them all together to give you a really strong message. And when I heard the word consent, I just had a feeling that I was going to sign a consent form today about something. I didn't know what I was going to do today. Later on, I decided I was going to go zip lining for the first time. And when I was getting ready to do the zip lining, the lady said, "Can you sign this consent form?" So there you go. They knew that I was going to go zip lining. I didn't know I was going to do that myself, but I kind of knew by hearing the word consent that something was coming that day. So again, very cool way for our loved ones to tell us that they're with us. They know what's happening. They're there with us. So when you're just calm and you don't have a lot of thoughts going on in your head, you can really recognize when these unusual words come through, but also they can be regular words as well. And a lot of times people discount that. It'll be very subtle. A thought will come to you. Now, what is the difference between a thought and hearing something? Sometimes there is no difference. Now, when Elizabeth's words filled the entire room, definitely I would call that hearing. When I heard her words inside my head, definitely I would call that hearing. But oftentimes when mediums and psychics work, they'll get a very strong thought and they'll say, I'm hearing this. I'm hearing these words. It's just a way to explain a thought. It's kind of an easier way to say, I'm thinking about something. It's just than to say, I'm hearing. Now, definitely, when you start to work more with hearing, now how can you do that? By asking. It all starts by your intent, by saying, maybe this is possible that I can hear my loved one, that I can hear my child again, that I can hear my angels talk to me. Just make it a possibility. Maybe I can. That's all they're asking for, is just for you to give permission for them to work with you a little bit more. And then again, the meditation, but also to recognize the thoughts that are coming in on a day-to-day basis. So it's important to be awake and aware of the thoughts that you are having. And if you haven't already, if you could go back and listen to my podcast about thoughts, that will talk to you, teach you a little bit more about discerning thoughts, if they're coming from you or them. And, if you're not aware of the thoughts that are going on in your head, you could miss it. You could miss the message. Now, they'll try to get it through you in a different way. Don't worry. But maybe it was a timely thing. Maybe it was a thought that you needed to hear. So what I encourage you is to be more vigilant about noticing the thoughts that are coming in. And when you get a big thought like that, it will feel very much like you heard it. And I definitely say, I heard those words when they come in. Spirit will get your attention often by giving you a word that is not normal for you to have, and that kind of gets your attention as well. Now, I was talking about animals as well, and definitely my animals on the other side communicate with me. And so in the book, I also talk about laying in bed one morning and hearing a dog barking. Now, remember I told you about when this happens to also notice, am I feeling something or seeing something at the same time? Is there anything else to go along with this message? Sometimes we get a very strong knowing. And a knowing is different than having a thought about something. Knowing is, I just know it. I just know it's true. I just have such a strong feeling about it. I just know it. Well, when I heard the German Shepherd bark, I just knew, first of all, I've never had a German Shepherd before, so I didn't even know that's what the bark sounded like. I just knew it was. And I knew that I had to call the lady who was selling the German Shepherd and get that puppy for my husband that he wanted. And the story in my book, I go into how I had to make that call that morning or that puppy was sold. So Spirit had to get through to me. Do you see there's a reason for it? Had to get through to me and say, you got a call right now. That puppy is being sold. I also heard my dog Tara, who's a little Sheltie, when she died, I went to the other side. I heard her barking outside one day. And it's very similar to a memory, because obviously I have memories of her barking. And if you've ever had dogs, you know that each dog has their own unique bark. I just knew that was her. I knew that was her bark, a typical bark that she would make to come in. And so that was her saying, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here. And of course, every time Spirit communicates with me, I validate with them. And I said in my mind, because they hear your thoughts, yes, Tara, I hear you. I know you're here. Validate when Spirit communicates with you, when your loved ones communicate with you. They try so very hard to get through. The least you can do is acknowledge that they've done this amazing thing to get through to you. One morning I was laying in bed and I heard my grandmother telling me to get up and drive my daughter Cassandra, who's here, to school. Now, I have no memory of my grandmother's voice because she lived in Scotland. I only met her a couple of times. But somehow they went into that memory bank and conjured up that voice for me. And I just knew it was her. Now, I did not see her and I didn't feel her. I just knew it was my grandmother telling me that. So I got up and realized that the time was ticking away and I had to get up and drive her to school. I've also heard my daughter call me through my bedroom door also with my nickname. And I heard that too many times. The other thing that you can hear that you think you are hearing with your physical ears, none of this is happening with your physical ears. It is your spiritual hearing, which some people say is located more in the temple region than in your physical ear region. So even though you say, I'm hearing this, I'm hearing that, it is not with your physical hearing. So I want to talk more about different ways and different things that can come through that is sound, that is Spirit communicating with you right after the break. So stay with us.
This is the Voice America 7th Wave Channel.
Tony Scavetta has been giving mediumship readings since 2004. His exceptional gift of clairvoyance will provide validation that your loved ones did not die and are here with you today. Experience healing through knowing your loved one is still with you and receive personal messages from them. Private and group sessions are available. Visit schoolofmiracles.ca and book through the calendar for Tony's availability. That's schoolofmiracles.ca. Visit schoolofmiracles.ca to find out about Heather Scavetta and her channeled life readings and School of Miracles. Heather blends her energy with the council to bring forth their words of guidance and encouragement that can help you take that next step forward on your spiritual path. You may also attend classes and workshops at School of Miracles in the Toronto, Ontario, Canada area. Learn to communicate with your loved ones, spirit guides, animals, and others in your spirit team. For more information, please visit schoolofmiracles.ca.
The Voice America 7th Wave Channel. Be extraordinary. Be the change.
You are listening to School of Miracles Radio. If you have a question or comment about the program, please send Heather an email to info@schoolofmiracles.ca. That's info@schoolofmiracles.ca. Now, back to this week's show.
Welcome back. So the show today is about clairaudience, hearing spirit, and I've talked about sometimes it feels like you're hearing the sound outside of your head, and other times you hear it like a big sound inside your head. You can hear the voices, music, and other sounds as well. Elizabeth early on regularly used to ring the phone in my bedroom at 1:08 in the morning. It would be half a ring, and I would hear the phone ring and look at the clock, and I lost count how many times she did that. That was the time of her passing, and it was just her saying, "I'm here, I'm here, I'm here." And every time it happened, I would say, "I know you're here, I know you're here." So many people think they're hearing that with their physical ears. I don't think the phone ever rang. I think it was a memory of the phone ringing that she gave to me to make me look at the clock, to get my attention. So you can hear sounds as well, sounds of things. Now, sometimes it can sound like tinnitus. Some people have that condition where it's like ringing in the ears. And I used to have certain sounds in my ears. And once I started opening up and hearing spirit, those sounds went away and I never had them again. So I wonder, were those sounds spirit trying to talk to me? I'm not saying that all tinnitus is spirit talking to you. Yes, it can be a medical condition, but it can also be spirit talking to you. So if you meditate regularly and ask them to send you messages in the form of hearing and, put time in to do this, perhaps your tinnitus will turn into sounds that you can really understand. And that's what happened to me. And I talked in a previous show about people who get high-pitched whining, and usually it's in one ear, and it really startles you, and you go, "What is that?" I talk about how I learned just from practice and experience that when I get that sound, it's about them telling me to be quiet, to be still, and to calm my thoughts. And I do that, and I thank them for telling me that. Like all spirit communication, the more you practice it, the more you will get to know who it is and how it is for you. It's just experience. It's a skill that you're learning. And when you do it over and over again, you learn. And each time spirit talks to you, they're teaching you something. Maybe it's from the information. Maybe it's the experience itself. Now, I talked before about staying with the sound and seeing if something else is coming with it, like a feeling. And oftentimes, I get clicks mostly in my left ear, sometimes very faint ones in my right ear. Don't ask me why. It just started happening to me. I didn't know that was possible. And I realized that the real soft clicks that I get are from my daughter, Elizabeth, from the other side. And when she comes in to tell me that she's here in that way, often it's when I'm driving, so I'm not distracted. Often it's when we're having a conversation with somebody else and she wants to join in. So it's very much like talking. But I usually get a feeling when it comes. I feel like I want to smile. I feel happy. And she's giving me that feeling with the click. So notice if you get clicks in your ears, to notice a feeling that you may have at the same time. Now, I also get very strong clicks, and I feel that sometimes those strong clicks are from guides. And so it's different. It's different when Elizabeth does it. Don't discount your feelings. Sometimes you'll get a very subtle feeling, maybe just a feeling of well-being, right? You just feel good. That's a feeling. So I talked to you a little bit about hearing dogs barking and things like that, or spirit guiding you and reminding you need to do something or be somewhere. Spirit is always teaching, because teaching is growth. Learning is growth. And we're not happy when we're not learning something, when we're not growing, because the soul is always in movement. That's life. Life is movement. So Spirit is always teaching you, because to learn makes you happy. So another way that you can use your ability of hearing Spirit is also in mediumship. So when you hear loved ones, you can relay that message to a loved one also. So definitely hearing comes in handy when you're doing mediumship, but also when you're channeling. Is there anyone listening who is a channeler? I channel your pre-birth counsel, and I give life readings to help you on your path, to give you guidance, spiritual guidance. And definitely my ability to hear Spirit helps my channeling ability, because when I channel, it's like hearing a thought, a big thought in my head, and the words just come through me. I don't interpret it. I don't try to figure it out. The minute I hear the word comes out of my mouth. So definitely hearing can really increase your channeling ability, can improve your channeling. Now, something that I do in my classes, which I think is extremely important, is learning how to receive messages from Spirit, not only for yourself, but for others. Now, when you practice receiving messages, you can ask Spirit to give you those messages in the form of hearing. Maybe you're very good at seeing pictures. Maybe you're very good at feeling things. Maybe you don't hear yet. So ask Spirit to give it to you in the form of healing. Now, Spirit will do what they want to do and what is best for you, but we can lay that intent and say, if it's appropriate, if it's a good way to get that message through to me, can you give it to me in hearing? And then you just have to let go and know that you've asked, your prayer has been received, and when Spirit deems it appropriate, or when your energetic field is ripe for hearing something, then they will give it to you in that way, and here you go, opening up your hearing. So some people say that hearing opens up in your spiritual development later than the other abilities. Again, I don't like to put rules on that, but hearing will come when it's supposed to come, but you can also accelerate that by meditating every day and asking Spirit to give you messages in the form of hearing. Now, also, when you're asking for this, make sure you're asking the correct person. So I talk about when you're meditating to say a prayer and set that intent of who you're talking to. So just don't say to the spirit world, I want to hear you, because you'll hear all kinds of people. And, yes, there are lower energies on the other side. And it's a lower energy when they're very disrespectful and talk to you nonstop, and there's no real reason for it. So you want to talk, if you're not sure, go straight to the top. Just say to God, God, I want to hear your words. God, I want to hear your guidance for me. That's enough. That's all you need to do. Talk straight to the top. So in my classes, I teach people to receive information through a guided meditation. And if you can't get to my classes, you can listen to my CD, The Swing, which will help you in this endeavor. And if you look at your radio page, it's in the bottom right hand where you see links, my CD and my book. And if you listen to that every day, it prompts you. It gives you prompts for spirit to give you information. Now, keep in mind, they'll give you a picture, a feeling, a color. You may hear something. You may get a thought. Again, they choose how they want to communicate with you, but you can ask to give it, to be given it in the form of hearing. Now, something really cool is now when you ask for a message from spirit, then you need to be quiet and you need to be still and calm, and your thoughts are still, and you ask your question and just wait. Now, you may wait up to 30 seconds, maybe a minute, just stay with it. And notice you're neutral. Notice how your body is. Is there a change in your body? Are you feeling something? Is there an emotion coming? Is there a pressure coming? This is all feeling. So for hearing, what you want to do is just focus on how you would if you were to hear something. Even though you're not hearing with your physical ears, you can still do it in this way. So your focus on, am I going to hear something? Is there a thought that's going to come in? Again, very subtly. You're not straining in any way. You're not trying in any way. You're just focusing on all these different areas and noticing if there's a change at all. And you just wait till it happens. You're going to get a thought for sure. If you've put the intent out there that you're going to hear something that I tell my classes is ask spirit to give you a song. And you may start to hear a clip of a lyric in your head. So you're just going to wait, and you're going to wait for that song to come in. And usually they'll give you the part of the song that the words mean something. So if you're asking for a message for yourself, you can just sit and be still. You can also say this at the beginning of a meditation. Say, I want you to give me a song for me today. And then just relax the body and go into the meditation and just trust that it's going to come. If you're further along in your ability, you can just sit and be quiet and ask them to give you a song. You can also ask them to give you a song for somebody else. So maybe you're in a classroom setting in your spiritual development circle, and there's somebody across from you that you're going to give a message to. This is a good trick to be able to discern information that's coming in. You can always ask for a song for them. So again, you do this in your mind. They can hear your thoughts. And you say, can I have a song for? And then say the person's name in your head. And then you just wait for a song to come in. This is always a fun thing to do, and it really lifts the spirit of the people that you're giving the message to, but also in a classroom situation. It's always a popular thing for me to do. And do you know where I got that idea from? From my husband, because he also developed his abilities, and he's very strong in his mediumship, and he had the thought to do that, to ask for a song. And so thank you, Tony, for that. It's always a popular one. So again, make sure that you leave room for flexibility. It may not come as you ask, but focus on the hearing. You can, if you want, just above your ears in the temple region. This is kind of where your spiritual hearing may be. I don't know. That's what I hear. I don't know. But you can focus there. Now, once you start to open your hearing, sometimes you will notice that your hearing is open through your mediumship. And so what I'm teaching you today is more like a psychic ability that you're connecting with other people here. Once you understand that you can hear and how that is for you, is it inside your head? Is it out? Is it song? Is it a click? All that type of stuff. Then you can apply it to your mediumship. And I'm going to talk more about that after the break. So stay with us. Thanks.
The Seventh Wave Channel on the Voice America Network.
Visit schoolofmiracles.ca to find out about Heather Scavetta and her channeled life readings and School of Miracles. Heather blends her energy with the council to bring forth their words of guidance and encouragement that can help you take that next step forward on your spiritual path. You may also attend classes and workshops at School of Miracles in the Toronto, Ontario, Canada area. Learn to communicate with your loved ones, spirit guides, animals, and others in your spirit team. For more information, please visit schoolofmiracles.ca. Tony Scavetta has been giving mediumship readings since 2004. His exceptional gift of clairvoyance will provide validation that your loved ones did not die and are here with you today. Experience healing through knowing your loved one is still with you and receive personal messages from them. Private and group sessions are available. Visit schoolofmiracles.ca and book through the calendar for Tony's availability. That's schoolofmiracles.ca.
The Voice America 7th Wave Channel. Seek greater awareness.
You are listening to School of Miracles Radio. If you have a question or comment about the program, please send Heather an email to info@schoolofmiracles.ca. That's info@schoolofmiracles.ca. Now, back to this week's show.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for staying with us. We're in our last segment, so I'm going to try to get everything in that I wanted to talk about. We were talking about receiving messages. So when you're asking for a message from Spirit, you can ask before you meditate, and then don't ask again. Just set it aside. Maybe write it in a book. Set it aside. Ask a question before you go to sleep. And of course, you can just ask, be still, and wait for the answer to come. Don't expect it to come in a certain form, but if you're working on your hearing, ask for it to come in that way. Remember, don't ask time questions, because time is relative, and I'll talk about time in the future. But we can stretch time, we can delay time, we can condense time. So time can depend on certain things. So don't ask Spirit time questions. This could be a reason why you may not get an answer to your question. Look at how you formulated your question and maybe revisit it. So we're praying to the top. Just pray to God. Ask Him for His guidance in this question that you have. And also, please don't blindly follow Spirit. Just because you heard something doesn't make it correct, okay? Because there's many people in Spirit. So you must discern for yourself if the answer feels right. You are part of the process. This is your free will to choose if this information works for you or not. Sometimes the information doesn't make sense because it'll happen into the future. Just as I told you about the word peninsula and consent, it happened later on, but I know that because I have experience with it. So if something doesn't resonate, just, maybe write it in your journal and revisit it later. You will know what you hear is true when it resonates with yourself and with the person you're giving it to. Usually there's a special energy that comes with it. In time, you will trust, but you won't get better unless you practice. So meditate every day, ask to open up your hearing ability. So I've asked people to send in emails with their questions, and I had a lady send me a question for today, and she wants to remain anonymous, but I will read it to you. So this is from this lady. So while in meditation about a year ago, I had a vision of Jesus standing on a hill. Same as picture that I loved in Sunday school. This didn't seem just like a picture. Then I felt a gentle warm touch on my right wrist. He said to me, "You are my child." It freaked me out, and I haven't meditated since. So she asked, "What's your take on this?" And she says that she always remembers being told that you can talk to God, but if He talks to you, you are crazy. So, of course, this is one of the main reasons why people don't share their experiences with others, because they don't want to be deemed crazy. Jesus knows each and every one of us. He came to show us the way, and the way is for us to love one another and to forgive ourselves and each other. That is the way to true peace and joy. So in this, she was meditating, so she was quiet and still, and she had a vision of Jesus I don't think that's unusual. I've had many interactions with him myself that I talk about in the book. And he did many things at once. So she saw something, clairvoyance. He touched her wrist. So she felt, so clairsentience. And then she heard him say a message to her. This has never left her. She is now in her fifth or sixth decade, and she had this vision as a child. So you see how these experiences with spirit are real. They're eternal. They never leave us. We can recount them. Unlike a dream that just fades, true experiences don't, because they come from a true source. And he came through to tell her that he's always with her. So I say to her, yes, you can trust that. Yes, he's always with you. And I encourage her to share this experience with others when it's deemed appropriate. Maybe someone needs to know that they're not alone, or they're going through something difficult. Know that there is someone who loves you unconditionally and is with you, helping you. So this is somebody who really didn't put a lot of effort into opening up her senses, and yet Spirit came through to do it. She needed it. It came through. It happened. And this can happen to you too. Your job is just to be aware and awake. So I too have had experiences with Jesus, and I remember I was channeling for many years, and deep in my heart I had a desire for Jesus to speak through me, but didn't know if that would happen. And then spontaneously, after one workshop, he came through. It was Easter time, and he spoke to the group, and I was overcome with the feeling of him, the strength of him. And his message was so beautiful. That message also is in my book, The Power of Love, that he's with us always, that we're never alone. I also had an experience when I was grieving very heavily in my bedroom at night. I was alone, and I saw a golden star in the room. There was such radiance to that. It was hovering in the room as I look at it. So again, clairvoyance. I'm seeing this, and then it started to move towards me. And I had all three. So I heard, I saw, I felt. I felt like I was in rapture. I felt an awe. I was overcome. I thought to myself, oh my God, Jesus is here. Now what do I do? And then I just thought, just have the experience, just take it in. And as the cross came closer to me, its gold brilliance was so beautiful. It became smaller and smaller, and it blended into my heart. And when it did, I heard him say, I am in you, and you are in me. And we have to stop thinking of us being separate from that love, from Jesus. He is with each and every one of us, no matter if it's our faith or not. It's the energy of love and forgiveness that follows us, that is part of who we are. He told me in that vision that he is with me, that we are no different. It's something that I needed to know, that I needed to understand. And I hope that hearing these two experiences, and also my channeling experience with Jesus, that this is very, I don't want to call it common, but Jesus works with all of us in his way. If you want to have your own experience with ascended masters, perhaps you have a different faith, and you would like to interact with, let's say, the Buddha, or some other higher entity. Invite them in to your meditative state, into your sacred space, and say, I'd like to spend some time with you. I'd like to get to know you. I am positive that they will answer you. So your job is just to be aware of how that may be. I did not know that he would communicate with me in those ways, but he since comes to me in my channels for others, especially when I have one-on-one channels, when I'm working with people, when they need to know that that love is there for them, that guidance is there. He often comes through to tell them that he too knows of them, knows them intimately. So it's not about religion. Religion and spirituality can coexist. It doesn't have to exclude one another. I am more religious now than I was before through my own experiences. So this is the beauty of opening up to spirit. You too can have your intimate experiences. So this is the end of our show for today. I hope you'll join me next week, and we're going to talk more about how you can communicate with spirit and get to know how that is and open up all those fields of understanding. Thank you so much, and I look forward to next week.
Thank you for tuning in to School of Miracles Radio. Please join your host, Heather Scavetta, again next Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Time, 3 p.m. Eastern Time on the Voice America's 7th Wave channel. We hope to have you join us again next week. And remember, you are never alone. Your loved ones and spirit guides are always around you.